These are the weirdest laws in
Cookie
the world.
Monster out
Alright,
loose.
so in Ohio, it's illegal to get a fish drunk. Why am I not surprised with this? And it's illegal to fight in public after 6 p.m. on a Thursday in Florida. Who comes up with these laws? Next, in Scotland, you can go to jail if you say no to someone if they want to use your toilet. That's kind of weird.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here, man, you guys don't know what we do, let me break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos, TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained. You can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who are coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man. Commenting down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. Greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, Seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Yeah, I know what we do. Seek the truth.
This is why you need to be careful with dating apps. On November 15th, 2017, 24-year-old Sydney Louv decided to meet Bailey Boswell in person after speaking on Tinder for a few days. For their first date, Bailey invited Sydney to come over to her apartment that she shared with her boyfriend Aubrey Trail. 24 minutes after Sydney arrived to the apartment, her phone was turned off and Bailey and her boyfriend Aubrey murdered her and chopped her body into 13 pieces using a saw. This attack was planned by the couple for a while, and there's even surveillance footage of them going into Home Depot and buying the saw and cleaning supplies. They then scattered Sydney's remains along the roads in Clay County, Nebraska, and it was found 3 weeks later. Investigators later found out that the couple talked about gaining power by committing murders and making videos of them torturing people. At the end of it, Bailey was sentenced to life in prison and Aubrey was sentenced to death.
Be careful who you're talking to on the internet.
Here's why you should never carve pumpkins for Halloween. Brett was really excited to carve Halloween pumpkins with his family this year. His whole family had even gone to a pumpkin patch to pick their own pumpkins. And Brett had made sure to get the biggest one he could carry. When the time came to carve pumpkins, his family got everything ready. And Brett started carving into the pumpkin. But once he got past the rind of it, everything started to go wrong. The pumpkin started to smell really, really bad. It was filling up the whole house. But Brett didn't want the pumpkin to go to waste. And he knew he needed to see what was inside. So he kept carving away at the pumpkin. Until at last he revealed what was causing that smell. And what he saw made him never want to carve pumpkins ever again. Hit the plus for part 2. It's coming soon.
These cliffhangers, bro. What was in that pumpkin? We need to know.
This girl wore makeup every day for 30 years and you won't believe what doctors discovered. Carly would never go a day without wearing makeup starting at just 16 years old. She was never satisfied even when she spent hours putting on makeup. She always wanted more. She said that she felt prettier with makeup and it boosted her confidence. Carly was a model for some of the biggest companies and they would force her to wear makeup for every photo shoot. But things started to change for her after 30 years. Her skin was starting to peel and getting crusty. She noticed this for months until one day she woke up with extreme pain on her face. When she looked in the mirror, she found her face had become practically flesh and bone because her skin had peeled off so much. She was rushed to the hospital after collapsing on the floor. The doctors took one look at her face in the hospital and couldn't believe what they saw. Hit the plus for part 2. It's coming soon.
Maybe that's a side effect of using too much makeup. Like you said, she was putting it on for 30 years straight. I'm guessing there's gonna be some side effects of having that much makeup on your skin. She was doing it for hours at the time too. You guys have any thoughts about that and guesses? I'm going with your side effect of too much makeup, man. There's only so much your skin can take. That's an edit. Call it like we see it, man.
The world
world's rarest items. Discovered in 2003, the Rainbow Virgin Opal literally glows in the dark and is worth well over $1 million. The darker the room, the more vibrant it is said to be. One of the most sought-after signatures in the entire world is that of William Shakespeare. With only 6 of his signatures known in the world today, your odds of getting one are non-existent.
William Shakespeare, yeah, that's probably
These are
cost
dirty
millions.
facts about history that will blow your mind, part 2. Up first, Lewis and Clark kept journals detailing the violent diarrhea that they and their fellow explorers had. The explorers did not take a physician with them, and it showed. They graphically recorded all of their challenges, which also included chef thighs, boils, and mosquito bites. One team member even died from his diarrhea. Next up, when Edgar Allan Poe was 27 years old, he married his 13-year-old cousin. They lived together in a public home before they were publicly married in 1836. Her age was listed at 21, and she died at 24. Many people believe his book called The Raven was inspired by her illness and death. Finally, King Tut was actually mummified with a boner. When his embalmed body was discovered, his penis stood upright. They say he was buried like this to symbolize the political struggle of Egypt at the time.
Okay.
People who are 1 in a million. Zhang Rufang is over 100 years old, but a few years back, something strange happened. She started growing a horn on her head. It started small, but it's grown to over 6 centimeters over the years. And now she's even growing a second horn on the other side. Doctors have offered to freely remove it, but she always says no. Zion Clark was born with a disease that caused the lower half of his body to stop growing. But this didn't stop him from training to become a professional athlete. Today, he's a pro wrestler, and he even competes against people who are twice his own weight. He's also appeared on multiple TV shows and even starred in his own Netflix documentary. Finally, this is Javier from Guatemala. He has an unknown condition that causes his head to grow uncontrollably and makes his voice incredibly deep. Despite this, he's lived a normal life and graduated high school.
I'm sorry, he sounded like a robot or something, man. That's my first time I ever seen anything like that, bro. I had no idea those people existed, man. Expanding my knowledge base today.
Santa Claus was also Toronto's scariest serial killer. 67-year-old Bruce MacArthur murdered 8 men in downtown Toronto from 2010 to 2018. He was previously married with a woman and had 2 children with her, but little did they know about his double life. Many people who knew Bruce described him as sweet and outgoing, and they never imagined he would do something like this. In 2010, gay men in Toronto began going missing, and unfortunately, after some time, their cases stopped getting so much attention. Bruce first met these men on dating apps, and when he met them in person, he took their lives. He targeted marginalized men, which in this case were gay men of color. He strangled them and then dismembered their bodies and then put their body parts in planters. Bruce even took photos of his victims when they were alive and then deceased. This is one of his victims who got away after almost being murdered by Bruce. In 2018, police began discovering dismembered body parts of some of the 8 missing men on the property of one of Bruce's clients who hired him as a landscaper. And finally, in 2019, Bruce pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison.
People having double lives, you never know what they're capable of, man. They say he was a sweet guy. Look what he was doing. Pay attention to the details, man. I said edit. We expert leveled at this now, man. We know.
Fun fact, German police are still searching for the Cookie Monster. In October, a speed camera captured this image of someone dressed as the Cookie Monster driving a car in Dortmund that was going 10 miles over the speed limit. The car was registered to a 57-year-old man who the police went to talk to, but under German law, he had no obligation to give them any extra information, which he understandably didn't do, because if he had admitted to being the one wearing the Cookie Monster costume, or if he told them who was, they would have gotten an extra $64 ticket for wearing a mask while driving, on top of the $43 speeding fine.
These are the weirdest laws in
Cookie
the world.
Monster out
Alright,
loose.
so in Ohio, it's illegal to get a fish drunk. why am I not surprised with this? And it's illegal to fight in public after 6 p.m. on a Thursday in Florida. Who comes up with these laws? Next, in Scotland, you can go to jail if you say no to someone if they want to use your toilet. That's kind of weird. And in Italy, it's illegal to be sad in public unless you're going to a hospital or to a funeral. So I guess you better stay home if you're sad. And finally, in Thailand, you're going to jail if you're leaving the house without an underwear on. I think that's a pretty good one. What do you think?
The last one got me, bro. If you don't get the underwears, you're under
This
arrest.
13-year-old was murdered by accident when he tried to defend his mother from her boyfriend. In the early morning of March 24th, 39-year-old Houston Morris and his girlfriend, whose name has not been released, were arguing until things got physical. During the fight, Houston strangled her, hit her with a metal pipe and a bed frame. In an attempt to defend herself, she grabbed the knife from under the bed, but he managed to take it away from her. Houston then tried to stab her with a knife, but he missed, and instead he hit her 13-year-old son, Isaac Hoff, who was standing right behind her. Isaac at this point is bleeding out, so he calls police and he tells them that his mother is being attacked. When officers arrived, they found him lying on a pool of blood in the kitchen floor, and he later passed away in the hospital. Isaac's mother was found with multiple cuts, bruises, and bite marks, and her 1-year-old daughter was also found with blood all over her. Houston pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, and he's now being held at the Renville County Jail.
This is why you should
That's a
never
sad story.
touch a dead whale. The dead whale right here. And it just exploded. Yeah.
Hello, my friend. While it's true that deceased whales sometimes explode after washing up on shore, the video you showed was of something else. This is from 1970 when humans exploded a whale using dynamite. Now, washed up whales do sometimes explode due to the gases building up within the body. It just looks a little different, in my opinion, a lot worse. But before I show you that, just letting you know I am dropping a longer video on the tube soon. Of course, those on my Discord will get to see it first. I'm going to give you a warning now in case you don't like looking at this sort of stuff. But yeah, when whales explode, it usually looks something like this. In 2004, there was a really bad one in Taiwan. I won't show you images that are too graphic, but basically the guts of this whale were covered across the street.
The buildup of the natural gases, that's what makes that happen.
Scariest Internet Urban Legends, Part 1. Today, let's talk about Candle Cove. Candle Cove is a really creepy television show that a lot of people remember watching as a kid. It all started when somebody posted on a forum asking if anyone else remembered this show. They just thought it was a fever dream. But that's when hundreds of people responded saying they too remember watching this show. And that's when they realized how disturbing the show truly was. Basically, the show revolved around a girl named Janice and her imaginary pirate puppet friends. One of the characters was named the Skin Taker. He was a skeleton that would wear a cape made out of children's skin. Here's where it gets even more weird. One man, after stumbling upon this forum, decided to ask his mom if she remembered this show as well. Now, she did remember this show because whenever her son would watch Candle Cove, he would just sit in front of a static TV for 30 minutes straight. So to kids, they were watching this strange show, but all adults could see was static. Do you remember the show?
Here are real-life gadgets
No, I
that will
don't.
give you superpowers. Everybody wishes they could fly, and someone might have invented something that could actually make that a reality. The Swiss aviator Rossi invented a jet-powered wing pack, which lets its wearer fly high into the sky. It uses materials that are usually for commercial jets. It costs $190,000 to make, and it can go as fast as 190 miles per hour. Next, if you ever wanted a bulletproof suit, now you can actually have one. This Kevlar suit is made from carbon nanotubes that harden as soon as bullets hit them. They're so strong that not even a knife could cut through it, and the only way to cut it open is with a bandsaw. It's also 50% lighter than a regular bulletproof vest, and it covers more of the body, so you'll be basically indestructible. And if you ever wanted super hearing, this mic might finally be the answer to your prayers. The molar mic hooks onto your back teeth, and it'll allow you to hear any conversation no matter how loud the surrounding area is. You can also hear conversations from very far away, but just remember that only you can hear them and they can't hear you because it'll look like you're talking to yourself if you reply.
But yeah, I gotta use any of those gadgets. I'm using the first one, man. I'm becoming Iron Man, bro. That bitty jet joint. That looks cool. But that last one, connecting to your teeth, we ain't about that, bro. I don't need enough connecting to my body. good on that.
These are random laws in the world that you probably didn't know about. In Denmark, when you have a baby, you have to name it within the 33,000 government-approved names. Meaning, you can't name your baby whatever you want. In Utah, you are not allowed to throw fecal matter at anyone. Why is it only illegal in Utah? Why? In France, it is illegal to drive without a breathalyzer in your glove box. They introduced this in 2012 in hopes of reducing the amount of drunk drivers. I love this law. They should have this literally everywhere. In Oshawa, Ontario, you can be fined up to $250 if you climb a tree without a climbing permit. $250 to climb a tree. In Russia, it is illegal to drive a dirty car. They need to be able to see your license plate. I completely agree with this one. In the UK, according to their 1986 Salmon Act, it is illegal to hold a salmon in a suspicious manner. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, what is that one?
How long you would survive in these conditions? Part 2. No sleep, 10 days. Being buried alive, 2 hours. Blue-ringed octopus bite, 30 minutes. Electric chair, 2 minutes. Nuclear blast, 1 second.
You're gone. You're vaporized. But then like that, bro.
Don't ever use a public bathroom again. This, my friends, is Akamata. Plus, drop a like, tag a friend, or she might get you. Akamata is a Japanese ghost that haunts and kills people in public bathrooms. They said that she'll walk up to you and ask you a series of questions. These are extremely important. The most important question being, would you rather choose red or blue? If you choose red, she'll chop you up into a million pieces. If you choose blue, she'll choke you to death until your face is blue. If you try to avoid the question entirely and choose a different color, she will drag you to hell to be never seen again. My question to you guys is it worth not waiting till you get home?
This creepy doll will always find and come back to you, no matter how hard you try to get rid of it. In 2013, a girl received an Elsa doll as her Christmas gift, but it was haunted. The doll had a little necklace that when you press it would make it speak, but after 2 years it started speaking in Spanish. Once they had the doll for 6 years, they realized they hadn't changed the batteries once, and it would talk even when turned off. So the family said, we're getting rid of this doll, and trashed it. But then 2 weeks later, they found the doll hiding in a bench back inside their house. Now feeling creeped out, they took the doll, put it in 2 bags, left it out for the garbage man, and watched him take it away. Then went out to go grab something from the store, and when they got home, the same doll was waiting for them in their backyard. So they took the doll and sent it to a friend in Minnesota, and thankfully it hasn't come back since.
Haunted doll, confirmed. We don't mess
Scariest
with
mythical creatures in the world. From Japan. Tick tick.
Tick tick.
From Puerto Rico. Chupacabra.
That's where they originate from. Heard about those.
From the ocean. CTHULU.
That'd be sirens.
From Arizona. Skinwalker.
Seen a lot of those.
From the ocean. Mermaid. From Canada. Wendigo.
Maps that will change the way you see the world.
Interesting.
This map shows the percentages of how many U.S. adults don't get enough exercise. The dark blue areas are less than 10%, while the dark orange areas are 50% or more. This map shows roughly where all of the uncontacted tribes in South America live. This map shows the percentage of how much each U.S. state is occupied by cornfields, with Iowa being the highest at over 36%. This map shows how many liters of alcohol an average person drinks in each country annually. The lightest areas are near zero, while the darkest areas are 10 to 13 liters a year. This map shows the difference between cat countries and dog countries. The darkest green countries have more cats, and the darkest purple countries have more dogs. You can see with this chart here how many Dunkin' Donuts locations there are in each US state. The white areas have 0 locations, while the dark brown have the most, with some of them over 1,000 locations in that state.
Oh, okay. There's a lot. The cat versus dog map was surprising. I thought there'd be more dogs, but there's way more cats. It's an edit, man. Like I said, if you guys see any edits, man, call them out with me, man, because I might miss some. We're on a journey
This is
together.
the Devil's Castle, and it's one of the scariest places on Earth. It's located in a small town in Mexico. Its actual name is Castillo del Diablo, and it was built by a painting contractor named Tony Wells. He spent almost $4 million on the castle, and it's become a worldwide attraction. In the castle, you can find coffins, creepy mannequins, and gargoyles. Wells has a collection of over 800 swords and knives, and about 350 beautiful antique mirrors. Often, Satan worshippers leave him presents, even though Tony does not believe in Satan. Would you dare spend a night in this place?
No! What's up?
This Inuit tribe crafted tools out of space metal. 10,000 years ago, this meteorite landed in the Arctic in northern Greenland. An entire Inuit community sprang up around it just to make tools from the iron in the meteorite, which resulted in badass stuff like this, a spear made from a narwhal tusk tipped with space metal. They didn't even have enough wood to make fires to actually forge the metal, so they had to cold forge it, just hammering it with giant stones until it was the right shape. The tools were so valuable, they were traded as far away as Norway.
Orbit facts about World War I that will give you nightmares. During the First World War, Canadians were obsessed about killing Germans, and many of them went against the truce laws by pretending to show mercy to those who surrendered, only to change their mind later on and shoot them unknowingly. During the war, sometimes soldiers would throw cans of food over trenches, so the starving soldiers would rush to grab the canned food, but little did they know that grenades were waiting for them as well. In the northeastern part of France, there are still some areas that are off limits to the public, because they are still full of unexploded chemicals such as mustard gas and many others.
That's crazy, even to this day.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. This map shows the 2020 election results with counties being scaled by how many votes were cast. This map shows what the results of the 1984 presidential election looked like by county. These are the depression rates by country, where the dark red is the most depressed and the dark blue is the least depressed. All 5 different areas that are colored on this map of Brazil have the same population. This map shows what the US Senate vote looked like when passing the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Sweden fits inside the entire country of Chad. These are the countries that produce the most serial killers, and if you look at this list here, the United States is by far the highest. Every red county on this map of the United States is where at least 10% of the population is Native American. This map shows the German language areas before and after the World Wars. So the dark blue is where the German language is mostly spoken today, and the light blue, including the dark blue, is where the German language was spoken before World War I. Disturbing facts that might ruin your day. There have been at least 2 fatal plane crashes due to wasps. We are all spending more than 6 hours a day on our phones, which is more than 25% of our entire existence. There are job applications out there that are only for collecting data. This is why large companies have positions that they never actually seem to hire. This wildlife painter from the 1800s would eat all of the birds that he painted. Bald eagles, owls, sparrows, robins, whooping cranes. 5,000 mail carriers are attacked by dogs every year. A 6-year-old's family thought he was too friendly with strangers, so they had a coworker that was a stranger to the boy hold him in a truck for 4 hours before lecturing him about stranger danger. Half of all plastic in the world has been created in the last 15 years. Crayons have a derivative of beef fat called stearic acid that is also what gives it its waxy smell. Loneliness can be as harmful to somebody's health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Standards from around the world that you probably didn't know about. Women from the Mercy tribe in Ethiopia remove their 4 lower front teeth and cut a hole in their bottom lip. Then they put in a plug to stretch their lips until they can insert a full-sized lip plate. This can take many months to do, but the lip plates are symbols of beauty and identity, and they're often worn by unmarried women in hopes of seeming more feminine and finding a rich husband. These plates are changed regularly and each time increasing in size, and this tradition has existed for over 10,000 years. Follow if you want to see more.
That's insane to think about.
Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run.
Austria.
The most disgusting things actors had to do for a role.
Okay.
Do you guys remember this scene in Harry Potter when all the kids gathered for a feast with all this delicious food? Well, every time they filmed the scene, they couldn't replace the food, so it started to rot and smelled terrible. And the actors said it got so bad they could smell the stench before even walking on set. In Game of Thrones, Castle Black looked super disgusting on screen and was just as disgusting in real life. The set decorators hung raw meat from the ceilings, had real pigs wandering around, and didn't clean up for weeks at a time, which made the actors have an easy time pretending to be miserable and cold because it actually was. For the Hunger Games, Jennifer Lawrence took acting to the extreme and actually ate a raw fish in order to get into the skin of her character. She said the crew told her it would taste like sushi. Hint, it did not. She said it tasted as bad as it smells and that she's never doing that again.
They lie, bro.
Let's see if you have Philophobia, part 3. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have Philophobia. Number 1. How about this? Feeling uncomfortable yet?
Still good.
Nearly there. Last one. Hit follow to see if you can make it to the next phobia test.
I made it all the way to the end. I don't think I have that phobia. They all getting freaking extinct but then reintroduced.
Your brain's storage capacity is around 2.5 million gigabytes. Smell is the sense most closely linked to memory. Your short-term memory can only handle about 7 thoughts at once. You forget 50% of new information within an hour. And this fact really annoyed me, so I tried to come up with a solution and stumbled across Plurk. It's an AI-based device that can transcribe any audio recording to text in seconds. Luckily, it's simple, so when I need to remember something, I just start with the one-press voice recording on the Plurk device. And once complete, I just click transcribe. And boom, it's done. I have the whole transcription ready for use, and it's perfect. Or I can just select to create a summary and choose the style I'm looking for. For example, to find the most important points in a long meeting or create an audio report of that file. So I'm never going to forget something important ever again as long as I have this device with me. You can get it to link in bio.
Learn some new info. Oh, for that kind of makes sense about the short-term memory because I know I'll be forgetting stuff that I know I'm supposed to know. It always gets to me, man.
This is the Devil's Castle, and it's one of the scariest places on Earth. It's located in a small town in Mexico. Its actual name is Castillo del Diablo, and it was built by a painting contractor named Tony Wells. He spent almost $4 million on the castle, and it's become a worldwide attraction. In the castle, you can find coffins, creepy mannequins, and gargoyles. Wells has a collection of over 800 swords and knives, and about 350 beautiful antique mirrors. Often, Satan worshippers leave him presents, even though Tony does not believe in Satan. Would you dare spend a night in this place?
That's a hell no. I'm new. I stay away from that type of energy, man. But he actually pulled $4 million into that. That's a lot of money, bro. Just to build something like that. That's we stay away from that energy, seekers.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. New York City is now giving rats birth control to stop them from reproducing. This restaurant sued this customer for leaving a $3,000 tip for his waitress. Pablo Escobar's abandoned hippos are still causing problems in the Colombian jungle. A motel in Kentucky was ordered to pay $2 million after one of their guests passed away in a 150-degree shower. Karen was the most popular baby name 60 years ago, and now it is nearly extinct. Florida police are telling people to stop taking selfies with a depressed black bear. EasyJet is apologizing after leaving 3 passengers with disabilities on the runway. A Japanese political candidate was stripping on national TV and asking viewers if they thought she was sexy. A game developer was demanding naked sauna sessions with his employees. 5 fishermen in Sri Lanka passed away after drinking water from a bottle they found in the ocean.
These are the scariest
I'm
serial
supposed to
killers
do
from
that.
each state, part 1. Up first is Nanny Doss from Alabama, also known as the Giggling Granny. She married 5 times and murdered 4 of her husbands, and the only one that survived was her first husband. She also poisoned 11 of her family members. Her first 2 victims were her children, who allegedly died from food poisoning. She got the nickname the Giggling Granny because she would always laugh at the crimes she committed. She killed 11 people and is definitely the scariest serial killer from Alabama.
She was laughing? No remorse, man. Watch out for those type of people.
This is the world's first passenger plane that doesn't have a pilot because it's being flown by AI. What could go wrong? The concept was revealed at the National Business Aviation Association event in Orlando, Florida. And the idea is to create a fully autonomous passenger jet that has similar benefits to self-driving cars. They believe AI could reduce human error, which is the leading cause of accidents, making air travel safer than ever. Because there would be no need for pilots, it could reduce costs, it could improve efficiency and reduce delays because planes could fly 24/7 without needing to rest for crew. And more personalized, on-demand flight options could emerge, like Uber for the skies. But then again, you would have to put your complete trust in AI 40,000 feet in the sky. So the question is, should this be made or scrapped immediately? Here are 3 options.
I'm gonna go with scrap, bro, because with AI, like, you never know. Somebody could hack and take over that plane, or it can glitch, man. You know, AI is still not perfect, man. And you putting your life at the hands of technology, 40,000, like I said, feet in the air, that's no, man. They need to scrap that.
Optical illusions, which I guarantee will make your brain hurt. First one, make that your phone background, I dare you. Wait, I've got another one for you. Second one, that makes me feel a bit sick. Let's see the last one. Now go give your eyes a rest.
Were they moving for you guys? They wasn't moving for me though, so. But I know those are probably some crazy optical illusions. Let's edit, man. We call them out. Like I said, if you guys see any edits, I need you guys to help me. Call them out too.
This woman did you-know-what with 919 men in one single day. Lisa Sparks set this record back in 2004 at the annual World Championships in Poland. She was competing against 2 other women, one of which was the current record holder who did you-know-what with 759 people in one day.
What the?
But the craziest part is Lisa set this record in only 12 hours, meaning she only spent 45 seconds with each man.
No. How is something like that even possible? She beat it in 12 hours. What happened to Shane, bro? That's insane. He's actually a world record for that? I'm scared to even look up who has the current record, bro. I don't think I want to know.
Interesting people you've never heard of. This man from Australia survived a wildfire by scuba diving in his pool while the wildfire was burning all around him. This man in his 40s fathered somewhere between 550 to 600 children. Because of this, he was court-ordered to stop donating his sperm. This man has fathered over 100 kids but has not been paid for it and even pays child support for some of them. A man in Louisiana who was pulled over by a police officer for drunkenly riding on a horse gave the excuse that the horse knows the way home. The sheriff ended up not giving him a DUI. This Englishman bought this island 60 years ago, moved to it, and never returned. This is what he looks like now after planting over 16,000 trees, attracting a bunch of different species of animals, and even making it a national park. This guy holds the world record for reciting pi to 22,514 digits in just under 5 hours, and he knows 11 languages.
Damn, he Jimmy Neutron.
Water slide in the whole world. This is known as the Leap of Faith. It's one of the most beautiful constructed slides in the entire world. But despite its beauty, it's actually known to be one of the most dangerous water slides. This slide consists of a 60-foot drop and was created back in 1998. But if that's not scary enough, it actually gets crazier. After the 60-foot drop, the riders are then sent through a lagoon of sharks. They're kept inside of the tube while the sharks are swimming around them.
He was 2 years old when he survived 4th-degree burns.
The candle fell. The fire spread quick and then into a blanket. and then it'll caught on fire.
Z Garcia was only a toddler when his mother put him to bed and a candle fell on his blankets, causing his entire bed to set on fire. He was rushed from Mexico to San Antonio for treatment, where he had multiple surgeries, and doctors thought that he wasn't going to make it. But he did. 80% of Zaid's body was burnt, and he lost both of his hands and 5 toes. His eyes were also severely burnt, so doctors covered his eyes with his skin so it can help them heal. Zaid said that he's able to only see shadows and light, but hopes to regain his vision one day and remove the skin from his eyes. He's now 19 years old, and his story is a miracle since most people don't survive third-degree burns. But what shocks me the most is despite everything Zaid has been through, he's still so positive and optimistic.
When you share your story with somebody, how do you hope they react?
Well, I know it'll make them sad, but I hope that it gets to their heart, and I hope it gives them hope and faith on themselves too. I know they might feel bad for me and everything, but I hope they think, well, if he did it, I could do it too.
Inspiring. Okay. Okay.
Deadliest computer viruses in the world, part 3. This is the infamous virus. You'll see exactly why it's called that. So we're going to open it up here and then click run, and then run again. Allow this publisher to make changes, yes. This malware is no joke. Continue. Hell yeah. Alright, now let me show you what happens. First thing, the computer restarts itself. A classic virus move. Boots back up and we have stage 1. Background and theme change to this red looking vibe. Stage 2, Windows loads with a bunch of spam user accounts, all with a bunch of weird characters, each password protected. And the main admin account is called No Escape. At this point, most keys on your keyboard would be disabled. Stage 3, admin password is set to death, all lowercase, so we punch that in to log on. Stage 4, all files on your computer are deleted and your desktop is filled with these junk files, all with those same strange characters. Stage 5, your mouse buttons are swapped, so left click is right and right is left. If you open up any of these files in Notepad, it just says this: your computer is mine. You cannot get rid of this malware. Stage 6, you can't really do anything with your computer anymore, and on September 18th, it will delete the Windows bootloader, meaning that you can't even turn it on. So yeah, let me know if you're interested in trying this out, and I'll send you that download link.
Who wants to fry their computer intentionally? That's a hell no for me. You gotta be careful with those links you click on, man. They be trying to get you. So far, thankfully, I've avoided all of those.
You will not believe how this woman's stalker found her. In 2019, police in Tokyo arrested a 26-year-old man by the name of Fubiki Sato, who was suspected of following home a young female pop star and whom he later moved on to assault and molest as she was walking into her apartment complex. But how did he find out exactly where she was? Well, that's the scary part. It was said that Sato screenshotted one of the girl's social media posts in which he zoomed into her eyes, and in her eyes you could see the reflection of a very famous landmark, and that's how he found her location. He then proceeded to use Google Street View, where he would find the exact coordinates of the landmark that was reflected in the girl's eye. This is when he would move on to this location and commit the horrific acts on this young woman. So guys, this is why it's very important to be careful about what you post on social media, because he found her through a reflection in her eyes. Who's to say it couldn't happen to you?
Top 4 most
Be careful what you
horrifying
post.
places in the ocean. 1. Hot Tub of Despair, Gulf of Mexico. This is 3,300 feet below the surface of the ocean. It is a very real, very deadly version of Goo Lagoon, where it killed Mr. Krabs and most of the fish in that show as well, because this is a really toxic mix of super salty water, methane, and hydrogen sulfide that basically kills any sort of organism that goes near it to is Sirena Deep. This is the 3rd deepest part of our ocean, and it's absolutely horrifying for a lot of reasons. First of all, we have no clue what lives down there, but basically it looks something like this, completely dark and devoid of life with crushing pressure and freezing cold water, and it's really scary and empty and dark. 3. The East Siberian Sea. It's basically filled with ticking time bombs of giant methane pockets that may or may not explode in the near future because of global warming, the fact they're under a bunch of ice, and when they do explode, it'll release a lot of damaging, chemicals, and it also will make the water around them boil and probably kill anything that's in that water with it. 4. The Ring of Fire, or the outline of the entire Pacific Ocean. This is a very large area of seismic and volcanic activity. Among other things, this is also where the largest mountains and volcanoes are on our planet, which is kind of horrifying.
Gotta take care of our planet, bro, or it's gonna erupt.
This woman shocked everyone at this carnival game because in order to win, you have to hang on to the bar for 2 minutes, which doesn't seem like a long time. But if you've ever tried this, you'll understand just how difficult this simple task is. But what the employees didn't know is that she's actually a rock climber, so this wouldn't even be a challenge for her. And as the time winded down, with no signs of struggle to be seen, she eventually got down to the final seconds, now with a small crowd forming in order to witness what would happen. And just watch what she does when the timer ends.
What the heck? That is hard. That's impressive. Could you guys do a Seekers? 2 minutes?
Do you think you could beat this game?
Whatever it was that really happened in the Hotel President was one of the most disturbing mysteries in American history. This is January 2nd, 1935, when the Hotel President in Kansas City, Missouri got a very strange visitor. This very unusual young man who checked in under the name of Roland T. Owen. He was eventually going to be placed in room 1046, and over a period of days, the maid staff just kind of routinely entered the room because it was always dark in there, so they assumed nobody was in there. Every time they walked in, what they would actually find was Roland T. Owen sitting on the bed in a suit in complete darkness, doing nothing. The most disturbing of all was really what took place on January 4th. Hotel staff had entered the room because of a disconnected phone line, and when they got in there, Roland T. Owen was found on the ground, covered in blood, and he had been stabbed multiple times. Just before he died, they asked him, who did this to you? Which he just said, no one. Even more bizarre, an anonymous caller who was allegedly a woman called in and paid for his entire funeral. You do want more to the story? I would go check it out right on the show.
Yeah, we gotta check that out, man. Like, what the hell? It sounds like a very deep mystery, man. Need to find that.
Breaking news, Bella Brave has been put into a medically induced coma, and they do not believe she is going to make it. Many of you may recognize her from being a star on this app. You may also know her as Bella Brave. Now, as of July 10th, her mother has posted that she has been medically induced in a coma. She said, quote, "They've told us they don't know if she'll survive this. I know she will. I know she has an army praying for her." Her mother shared that Bella had developed an infection in her lungs and also may have developed a form of bronchitis. Doctors say the type of bronchitis that she developed is, quote, "irreversible and a chronic condition."
It is also known as popcorn lung. On July 9th, her mother posted that although Bella was, quote, sitting up, she began to struggle. She went on to say, quote, she lost 4 pounds in one day, putting all her energy into breathing. Her CO2 started to increase, and she started to doze off and have delirium. She was alert enough to tell me she turned into a piece of bread, and she also knew that she was at the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. She continued by saying they knew at that point they needed to sedate her and intubate her before she crashed. We left having them tell us they didn't know if she'll make it through the night, but she did. However, the following day, her mother said that she was placed into a medically induced coma. The best of the best were telling us it looked really bad. But I kept lifted stare, intensely listening until I heard what hope there was left that we could hang on to. She has also shared that Bella was put on a large dose of steroids. She said this is the one option they have left to help her lungs work again. Day 3 will give us more information on how soon we could see her lung function improve. She's stable, and that in itself is an improvement from now. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. Prayers for Bella, and I'll keep you guys updated. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
Prayers, man.
Scary Christmas Urban Legends, Part 1. Hopefully you're not eating right now, because this one's going to make you lose your appetite. So this is mincemeat pie. Apparently people actually like this and like to eat it during Christmas time. Legend goes that it was created in the 16th century as a way for humans to cook and eat other humans. You heard me correctly, humans were added to this dish. And apparently this rumor or legend is why mincemeat pies no longer have meat in them. At least most don't anymore. Delicious. Like and follow for more weird shit like this.
I've never had that
change
before.
The way you see the world. This is a prediction of what the world is going to look like 250 million years from now. These are the CO2 emissions across the Indian subcontinent, with the lightest, whitest areas being the highest. This map shows all of the foreign military presence that is sitting in Africa right now. This map shows the most valuable Italian brands and where exactly they came from. If you draw a straight line between the northernmost point and southernmost point in the contiguous United States, along with the westernmost point to the easternmost point, the lines do not intersect. This map shows what the size of the Great Lakes would look like if it was in Europe. This map shows which state you could find the highest percentage of people with ancestry from every European country. This map shows where every popular sitcom took place. Every red dot on this map is a football pitch or a soccer field if you're from the United States. This map shows that in 1990, most of the United States had 15% or less obese adults in their state, where less than 30 years later, now almost every state has more than 25% obesity rates.
That's a shame.
Finally been named the disappearance of Morgan Nick. If you've been following, you know Morgan was abducted from the Alma Little League Park in a 2 to 3 minute window. She was a bit shy compared to the other kids, and so she'd just been sitting with her mom along the first baseline to watch the game. But apparently she was so excited when 2 kids came over and asked her if she wanted to go catch fireflies. She repeatedly asked her mom, and so calling me then, even though it was getting dark. But she had no idea Billy Jack Lynx was also there, and allegedly parked right next to their car. Morally, she says that when she saw her daughter for the last time, she was running up this hill and past the fences to that exact same parking area. Now, when the game ended that night around 10:30, all of the other kids came running back down to the field, but Morgan wasn't with them. Immediately, Colleen asked them where she had gone off to, and they told her that she had just sat down for a second to get the sand out of her shoes. So Colleen went up there and started looking around, but she couldn't find her anywhere. By 11 p.m. that night, everyone was searching the ballpark, and eventually officers decided to take the area off as a crime scene. It turns out the kids who were with Morgan that night had seen something worth mentioning. There was a man with a scruffy beard who had come up to them, and they couldn't quite place it, but something about him and his red truck just didn't fit. Now with this, police asked everyone to send in their home footage from the games that night, and they found a truck that matched the one the kids were talking about. Nothing immediately came from this new lead, but then about 2 months later, there was another attempted abduction. It was determined that Billy Jack Lynx had tried to take an 11-year-old girl from a local Sonic, and he was driving what appeared to be the exact same truck. Now that same year, 95, the connection here was made, and Lynx was interviewed about Morgan's disappearance. His car was also sent out for testing, and they even found human blood, but from what I could tell, all of the initial evidence in this case was lost. Then in 2019, a new team finally came in to take over this case, and it was so disappointing because they could have had the technology now to match that blood to Morgan. So they started over trying to track down this truck 25 years later, and somehow after several different owners, they had found it. In 2020, investigators, quote, vacuumed various locations of the truck, and now they say they have a blonde hair that has to match Morgan or someone in her family. They also say this drama suggests that Morgan was in Billy's vehicle the night she disappeared. And while he died in 2000, they also have an idea of where he took her after the abduction. They focused in on an area about 10 minutes away that's down by the river, where a group of kids actually saw his truck later that night and what appeared to be a man holding someone down in the front seat. Tragically, it is believed that Morgan may have been taken with the floodwater that year. Today, she still remains missing. Investigators are trying to figure out everything they can about Billy's life, likely to see if he has any more victims.
This 16-year-old was sentenced to 50 years in prison, and you won't believe what he did. In 2022, Noah Nay shot a 5-year-old girl in the neck and shoulder in Oklahoma. This teen, who I swear looks like a 9-year-old, was riding in a stolen car and purposely shot inside a home where the little girl was playing. But again, this was no accident. No one did this for a gang initiation. Luckily, the little girl survived, but had the bullet hit a spot an inch away, she would have definitely died. Noah was arrested, but not long after, he escaped the juvenile detention center by jumping a fence. He was found 4 days later, but when he was put back into the detention center, he repeatedly assaulted staff. Noah was sentenced as an adult, but the judge said that in 2028, his sentence can be reduced if he's proved that he's changed.
Imagine getting stood up for a day and it causes you to become a key part of a murder trial. It was 2012 in Kentucky and Shaina Hubers was 21 years old. She had just graduated from the University of Kentucky and was dating 29-year-old Ryan Poston. Ryan was an attorney and the pair was said to be very toxic. They'd been together for about a year and a half but were very on and off. On the night of October the 12th, things would end for good. Those close to Ryan knew he wasn't happy. He tried ending things with Shaina multiple times, but she refused to accept this. She would turn up to his house, refuse to leave, and they would end up getting back together.
Toxic.
On the 12th of October, the pair were having food at Ryan's parents' house, and they would end up in another argument. Ryan decided to end things once and for all, and to prove to Shaina that he was over her, he decided to go on a date with another woman the next night.
Oh.
The woman was the stunning Audrey Bolt, who was the current Miss Ohio. Audrey and Ryan had arranged to go to a bar the night after at 9:30 p.m. Audrey was really looking forward to it and was very confused when he never showed up. Meanwhile, Shaina had turned up to Ryan's house again without warning. After another massive argument, she took one of his guns and shot him 6 times. She then decided to call police to confess. Now, while she was being interviewed by police, she was acting incredibly bizarre. She twirled around the room and sang, "I did it, yeah, I killed him." She also sang Amazing Grace. Shaina tried to claim that she acted in self-defense, but she was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Audrey had to testify in the murder trial. However, in August 2016, Shaina was actually granted a new trial. This was because it was revealed that one of the original jurors was actually a felon. She was again found guilty though in her retrial and was sentenced to life.
The baby-faced...
Man, that's just a sign. If you guys ain't in a toxic relationship, man, just try to end it all because it can turn into something even worse, man.
Gangster that shot a little girl in the neck has been jailed for 50 years after a court heard that he knows the difference between right and wrong, but has no amenability to treatment. Noah Nay was sentenced as an adult for the 2022 shooting that saw the teen drive a stolen car and fire a gun towards the house in which the little girl was playing, hitting her in the neck and shoulder. It has been reported that his actions were part of the requirements for a gang initiation.
An American couple married for 75 years. They had one wish in common. A wish that shocked everyone. Jeanette, 96, and Alexander, 95. They started dating at the age of 8, were officially married in 1940, and live in San Diego, Calif. They have 5 sons and daughters and 16 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Some time ago, Alexander suffered an accidental fall that fractured his hip, and he was confined to his bed at home. He used a special bed. It was placed next to his wife Janet's bed. Soon after, Alexander lost interest in life and became weak. On this day, June 29th, Alexander lay in Janet's arms. The daughter informed her mother that her father had died. Janet said sadly, with tears in her eyes, "This is your wish, to pass away in my arms. I love you. Wait for me. Soon we will meet again." Surprisingly, what's on the calendar for June 29th, 75 years ago today? It was the day they were married. The next morning, their daughter found out. Her mother had also passed away peacefully. It turned out that their common wish was to pass away happily together in an embrace. Follow me. Get more true stories every day.
That is like a story that's we can leave. Wow. coincidence, man. Like, that was their one true wish, and it happened like just a day after each other, man. They were together that long. That's how they wanted to go out. That's really bizarre.
Here's every character I think that's going to be in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie. If you remember at the end of the movie, Abby ends up asking Mike, hey, when are we going to go back to see my friends? I want to see them. And Mike says, you never know what's going to happen. Now, in my opinion, this movie's going to be based at least 5 to 15 years in the future. Now, hear me out. If we're following the plans of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 as a game, we have to go into the withered characters, because they've been untouched, unmaintenanced, and unloved for so long. We're going to be seeing withered characters in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Maybe not 15 years in the future, I may have dragged it a bit, maybe 3 to 5 years in the future. And as you guys know, all of the withered characters are a little bit more devious. And why are they more devious? Because these kids have been left alone for so long. They loved Abby, they loved hanging out with her. Yes, they wanted to kill her, but still. Withered Freddy, withered Chica, look at Bonnie, she doesn't have a face. Withered Foxy, golden Freddy. I also think we're going to be seeing the puppet as well, aka Mike's little brother. So hear me out, I'm going to be the first one to say it. When we get a Five Nights at Freddy's 2, we are going to get withered characters. It's going to be based at least 3 to 5 years in the future. Just look at withered Bonnie. Imagine Abby pulls up, getting ready to see her friends, and all of a sudden sees Bonnie. My other theory is that they are going to be pissed. They've been left alone for way too long and miss their friend. And that is what's going to drive this next movie to be absolutely insane. Like and follow for more.
Yeah, this nightmare is real, and planes are literally flipping over when passengers get up from their seats. A flight attendant for JetBlue had to issue an emergency announcement, making everyone realize their worst nightmares had come true on the plane, with one woman leaving a grim and dark message saying she wasn't sure if she'd ever see her grandkids again. The flight attendant asked all passengers to spread out as their weight was believed to be causing the plane to flip over, telling everyone to move to the middle of the plane.
Very slowly, little by little, move towards the middle of the apron because apparently everything is like it tips out.
With a tech expert saying this was so terrifying, he described it as the plane was about to do a backflip.
It felt like the plane was about to do a backflip.
Which begs the question of how safe are these planes to begin with. Many of the passengers had rushed to the rear of the plane when deplaning, which caused this, but there's still many questions which JetBlue does not have the answers for. While no one was injured, we don't know if this is something that can happen to all planes or if it's rare.
See how this fake thug reacted to a life sentence. In 2015, Jaleel Smith Riley was arrested for his involvement in a 2013 robbery that left Aaron Martin with a bullet in his head and Portia Brooks dead. Smith Riley pled guilty to the crime and was hoping to avoid a life without parole sentence. Prior to being sentenced, he cried and begged for leniency.
Consequences, man. The fake thug, bro.
His grandfather also spoke on his behalf.
He always come by to check on me and his grandmother. He always did. He worked in the church with us all.
When the judge spoke, Riley Smith didn't like what he heard.
Court defendant serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4, the offense of attempted murder.
Check it out.
This heartless thug will die in prison.
Hey man, you have to deal with the consequences. If you wanna be about that life, you gotta know what comes with it.
One of the most disgusting shock videos on the internet explained. I'm explaining this off memory and other people's comments. There is no way I watch this video again because it's that gross. The video is 1 minute long, and as it starts, you hear a piano track over the video and you see 2 girls making out. But at around 10 seconds in, it gets absolutely sickening. One of the girls gets a glass cup and defecates in it, filling it all the way to the top. A jump cut then occurs and it shows the 2 women licking the feces in the cup like it's ice cream. It cuts again and it shows one of the girls rubbing the feces around her mouth, and the video then cuts again, and it shows the 2 girls making out with feces in their mouth and all over their faces. The next scene, one of the girls sticks her fingers down her throat, trying to make herself vomit into the glass as the other girl licks it. The next scene, it shows one of the girls standing up and the other one is on her knees. The one standing up then pukes directly onto the face of the girl on her knees. The final scene shows both girls completely covered in feces as it's even overflowing their mouths. And this is where the video finally concludes. This video is absolutely sickening, and when I tell you not to watch it, don't watch it. I know I say that for all the videos I cover, but this one isn't brutal or gory. It's just plain out disgusting and you really just don't want to see it. You can watch reactions on YouTube of people watching this for the first time. Joe Rogan even has his reaction video up from years ago.
Ooh.
Hey guys, do you remember Adam Johnson, the hockey player who suffered the fatal cut to his neck in a hockey game on October the 28th? Well, the player whose skate caused the injury has actually been arrested and charged with manslaughter. This is Matt Petgrave, probably not saying that right, but he is the player whose skate caused the injury to Johnson's neck. And news out today is saying that he has been arrested and charged with the manslaughter of Adam Johnson. Now, initially, I was kind of shocked at this news. All of the footage that I saw, I did not think that it was intentional. But then, when you go back and you watch the replay in slow motion, that kind of changes things. Apparently, the hockey world and all of the hockey fans have been waiting on this to come. I'm going to add a clip in here that shows when the injury occurred during that hockey game, and you'll watch it through in regular time first, and then it will be played in slow motion, and I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are. You can see it happens quickly there, but watch it in slow motion where Petgrave is in the red, he comes across and intentionally kicks that leg up, which slashes Johnson's neck and results in his death.
Here's how all of the missing children from the Five Nights at Freddy's movie passed away and became the animatronics. Well, as you guys know, little backstory, these kids ended up going to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They all ended up disappearing in, I'm pretty sure, 1984, all because of William Afton. Wanted to run some experiments and see if he was able to combine children's souls with these animatronics. And let's just say he did his damn thing. Up first is Freddy. It is said that Freddy's original character was unalived by hiding, which kind of makes sense because you never really see Freddy doing any wild shit. I mean, you see him, but he's always kind of just like lurking or pretending to be still. Then have Foxy, said to be the soul of one of the kids that was running, hence the reason Foxy is always so fast and always running. We also have to take into the account the kid in the orange, who has Foxy's hook, and literally starts sprinting as soon as Mike gets too close. Then have Chica, who's said to have the embodiment of one of the kids that was screaming. Seems as though you always see Chica when she jump scares people in the games is she's screaming, which kind of makes sense. Then have Bonnie, who's said to be after one of the kids that fought back. He obviously didn't win. That shows why Bonnie's always so brawling. Then you have Golden Freddy, who's said to be the souls of 2 children. Which is supposed to be someone named Cassidy, but in the movie it's Mike's little brother. That's the theory. Like and follow for more.
Oh no.
These theories are crazy.
No.
I had thought that I had seen everything when it came to cults, but you are not prepared for what this cult believes. So HBO just released this documentary about the Love is One cult, which was run by this woman, Amy Carlson, who calls herself Mother God. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but she believed she was controlled by the spirit of Robin Williams, and this like yassified version of Saint Germain. Also, I cover a lot of dark stuff on this page, so you should follow along. She also said she could channel and get advice from this like galactic federation of dead celebrities. There's like Mr. Rogers, Carrie Fisher, Steve Irwin, and randomly Donald Trump, who is not dead. But Robin Williams is at the top, and so the cult believes they're getting a lot of advice through Robin Williams, so they'll say things like, so one of the beliefs that this cult has is that one day Robin Williams is going to arrive in a spaceship to take Mother God away so that she can spiritually ascend. He also told her that she can only be 103 pounds to get on the spaceship, which is why she's trying to lose a lot of weight. Eventually, Mother God starts getting sicker and sicker, and also bluer and bluer because of the colloidal silver supplements they won't stop giving her, and everyone thinks, oh my god, Robin Williams must be coming on a spaceship really soon to help Mother ascend. Eventually, she passes away, and guess what? Shockingly, Robin Williams does not descend in an intergalactic spaceship to come collect the 103-pound body of Mother God. And so the cult members just have her body. They don't know what to do with it. They thought Robin Williams was going to come. So they hang out with it for 12 days until the police finally show up. Anyways, this whole thing is a trip. You just gotta watch it to believe it. I'm seeing photos.
Should we check that out, Seekers, man? People who be getting caught up in those groups, man, they be into some weird things. But to say that they thought Robin Williams was going to come down in a spaceship, that's just one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard watching these videos together with you guys. Be careful, man, of those groups.
Show a 13-year-old boy. Police say he murdered his mother, and before that, he's standing over her in a vulnerable position as he's getting ready to her to death. Derek Rosa snapped a selfie after the crime, his hands smeared with blood.
No, I'm not her. I just have a little bit of blood on my hand.
I need to know if your mom is breathing.
She's 10 minutes.
Okay, and when did you do that?
Blood all over the floor.
Where is your sister? Your sister's still there?
She's sleeping.
She's sleeping, okay.
Excuse me, miss, what do I do if she wakes up?
If you wake up, just let me know. I need to know. Do you think we can help your mom?
Miss, she said, I took pictures and I told my friends about it. Was that bad?
You told who about it?
My friends.
Who did you send the pictures to?
My friend. I don't know his real name because he is an online friend, so I play with a lot.
Cell phone video shows the moment a teenage boy surrendered with his hands up.
His demeanor, he was very quiet, apologetic, very respectful. Not what you would expect walking into that home and seeing that crime scene.
The 13-year-old, identified as Derek Rosa, is currently in secure detention. When officers arrived to Unit 201 inside the Amelia Oaks apartment complex, they found the victim in her bedroom with multiple wounds, just inches from her newborn baby girl.
Next to her was a crib. And inside of that crib, a 14-day-old baby that fortunately was not injured.
Places that will disappear in your lifetime. Venice, Italy is a beautiful place, but it will disappear in your lifetime. Venice is slowly sinking.
What?
The canals cause many floods, and these floods are causing Venice to tilt east. Experts say that by 2100 the city will be uninhabitable. The Great Wall of China is amazing, but it will soon be gone. 1/3 of the wall has already been destroyed. This is mainly due to natural damage, for example climate change, but people walking on it and local settlements stealing bricks from it has also damaged the wall badly. Experts say that within decades the wall may be gone. San Francisco is an amazing city. It's known for earthquakes, but in 2016 geologists found something scary. They found 2 earthquake fault lines underneath the San Francisco Bay. This could destroy San Francisco, and there's a 75% chance this could happen before 2086. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is one of the most amazing things in the world, but it won't be around for much longer. It's already decreased more than 50% of its original size, and lots of the vibrant coloured corals are now turning white. Some believe the Great Barrier Reef may disappear by 2030.
Damn, that's just in a couple of years. What the hell? All these places, man, that's about to disappear. I gotta see them before they go, man. The Great Wall, Venice, Italy. Hey, man, I want to travel. What the hell? I'm gonna have to put that on my list.
This is one of the worst true crime cases I ever covered, and this is a massive trigger warning. In 2007, the boy on the right named Gabriel Kuhn, who was 12 years old, was killed by Daniel Petrie, who was 16, and on the left. Daniel Petrie and Gabriel Kuhn became good friends and began playing an online role-playing game called Tibia. At one point of the game, Gabriel asked Daniel for 20,000 virtual cash to clear the stage. Gabriel borrowed money from Daniel to use in the game and then refused to pay him back. Gabriel then blocked Daniel on everything, and this made him furious, and he went to Gabriel's house to pay him a visit. A couple of days before the murder, Daniel called the home phone of Gabriel and his mom answered. She explained that she would be out of town and that her son would be home alone if they wanted to play, completely unaware of the boys falling out. And on August 23rd, 2007, Daniel went to Gabriel's house and knocked on the door. Nobody answered, and Daniel kept knocking, but eventually Gabriel started speaking to Daniel through the door. Daniel told Gabriel to unlock the door and let him in, and if he apologized to him, everything would be fine. Believing this, Gabriel unlocked the door and let Daniel in. And after entering the house, Daniel locked the door behind him. Daniel then brutally assaulted Gabriel. Gabriel tried his best to defend himself, but he failed to do so. Daniel was older, bigger, and stronger. Gabriel was dripping in blood after being brutally beaten by Daniel. Daniel then laughed at the terrified Gabriel and took him to the bedroom, where he then sexually assaulted him. Gabriel cried, but this made Daniel even more cruel. After all of this, Gabriel threatened Daniel, saying he will tell his mother everything that happened, but this only made Daniel more mad. And in a fit of rage, Daniel took a cord from a gaming console and wrapped it around Gabriel's neck and strangled him with it until he went limp. Daniel assumed Gabriel was dead, and believing this, Daniel tried to move and hide the body in the crawl space, leading to the bedrooms. However, the body was too heavy, and after realizing this, Daniel searched the house for sharp tools, and eventually he found a kitchen knife and a hacksaw. Daniel then returned to Gabriel's body, and in order to make it lighter, he took the knife and hacksaw and began cutting at the top of Daniel's legs, to remove it, and as Daniel cut into Gabriel's leg, he woke up. Gabriel wasn't dead. He let out a blood-curdling scream, but Daniel restrained him, making sure to twist and turn the blade to make it even more painful. Eventually, Daniel dismembered his right leg and moved to his left. And after severing both of his legs, Gabriel passed away. His autopsy suggested he was still alive throughout the whole ordeal, and he eventually died from shock and blood loss. After Daniel finished the dismemberment, he tried to hide the body again, and he wrapped a cable and wire around Gabriel's body. But the body was still too heavy, and Daniel then fled the house. Gabriel's body was discovered by his brother, and the body was left by the hallway door and the legs in the hacksaw tube. Daniel Petrie was admitted to a juvenile center in September 2007 to only 3 years. This is due to Brazil's laws of sentencing minors. And to make you realize how evil Daniel was, when the judge asked him if he had any last words of remorse, Daniel said this: "Gabriel was a coward and a thief. He burns in hell right now where I sent him. And when I die, I will find him in hell and finish my revenge." It's also worth saying that the photos of the crime and Gabriel's body had surfaced on the internet, and nobody knows how they got there. I highly recommend not to look at them due to the graphic nature of them, and they would definitely be the worst crime scene photos you will ever see. It's honestly insane how Daniel is walking free today. May Gabriel rest in peace.
This is the case of 19-year-old Alexi Treviso and how she went to the hospital complaining of back pain, but ended up getting charged with murder. Alexi Treviso was a 19-year-old senior in high school living in Artesia, New Mexico. She was on the varsity cheerleading team, and she was dating her boyfriend Devin for about 2 years. Honestly, Alexi just seemed like a typical teenage girl. Prom was coming up soon, her graduation was around the corner, and she was already thinking about what university she was going to go to in the fall. January 26, 2023, that day was pretty much just like any other day for 19-year-old Alexi. She went to cheerleading practice that day and got home in the afternoon. She spent some time with her family and then she went to bed. However, she was woken up in the middle of the night with severe back pain. This was like not normal back pain. Like Alexi was in so much pain that her mother decided to take her to the hospital. Alexi and her mother Rosa arrived at the Artesia General Hospital in the early morning hours of January 27. Alexi checked in and told the doctors that she had really bad pain in her back, so they wanted to do a test to see if maybe she had a UTI or a kidney infection, since back pain can be a symptom of both of those things. So they're getting ready to do those tests, and then they asked Alexi, "Are you pregnant?" Which is a very common thing to ask. I mean, if you're a girl and you've gone to the doctor before, I feel like they always ask you if you're pregnant. On top of that, experiencing back pain can be a symptom of pregnancy. So the doctor asked Alexi, "Are you pregnant?" And she says no, that she's still a virgin and that she hasn't engaged in any sexual activity. So the doctor's like, okay, perfect. And they send Alexi over to go get a CAT scan done so that they can check for kidney stone. And while she's getting that test done, the doctors decide to still do a pregnancy test just in case, because you never know. So they did a urine test, and when the results came back, they were positive. Alexi was pregnant. Now, of course, pregnancy tests can sometimes be inaccurate, so the doctors wanted to check her blood just to make sure that she was actually pregnant. And while all of this is going on, Alexi tells the doctors that she needs to go to the bathroom. Like, she has to go number 2, and it's coming out, like, right now. So she gets up from the hospital bed, and she literally runs to the bathroom holding her butt because she feels like it's going to come out. She locks herself inside the bathroom, and she's in there for quite some time. Doctors and the staff at the hospital are getting kind of worried because she's been in there for a while, and they know that she's pregnant. So they're thinking maybe she's having some type of miscarriage or something else is happening. They knock on the door, but Alexi refuses to come out. At one point, her mother Rosa also goes over to knock on the door, but Alexi says that she's just having trouble going number 2 and that she'll be out shortly. At this point, Alexi has been in the bathroom for more than like 20 minutes. So the doctors tell her, if you don't open the door right now, we're going to unlock it. Before the doctor can unlock the door, Alexi just opens up and starts walking back to her room. One of the doctors looks inside the bathroom just to see, what happened, and they do see that there was all over the floor. They asked Alexi, what's going on? And she said that she simply got her period. Call over the cleaning lady to come clean up the bathroom, and when she starts to take out the trash, notices that the trash bag feels heavier than usual. So Leela, the housekeeper, goes to look inside the garbage bin, and when she pulls out a bag, she finds a baby. The baby was inside a clear plastic bag at the bottom of the bin. Okay, more in part 2.
Never wake up a sleepwalker.
Do you want me to wake him up?
They're laughing. This ain't funny though.
This girl was freaking out when her sister got out of bed and started sleepwalking.
Stop staring at me like that. Alexis! Mom!
like a spirit takes them over.
She's just standing here staring at me. Relax. Hey. Hey, calm down. Shaina.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Follow for more.
There we go.
Here are the strangest things that were found in the middle of nowhere. Back in 2014, two German friends were walking through a forest that they used to play in as kids, when suddenly they noticed two pipes sticking out of the ground. They continued to walk until they stumbled upon a hidden doorway that went underground. They entered the creepy corridors until they stumbled into a room that was flooded and had a weird-looking machine. That's when they realized they were in an abandoned control bunker that was used by the Soviets during the Cold War. Next, in 2016, a group was flying in a helicopter over the forests of West Russia, and they spotted another helicopter that was abandoned in a swamp. This turned out to be an Mi-6 model that originated in 1956, and it was the largest and fastest helicopter at the time. It was revealed that the helicopter had been there since 1981, when it traveled from Moscow and it crashed because of engine failure. But thankfully, the crew of it did live to tell the tale. And finally, on Route 90 in Texas, you can find a Prada store that's surrounded by nothing but desert. This was actually art that was made back in 2005 and cost $120,000 to make. Inside the store, there's even real products from their 2005 Prada collection. But unfortunately, the doors aren't real, so you can't actually buy them.
The craziest jobs in the whole world. Up first, we have a professional napper. Yes, there's people out there who get paid to sleep as a profession. It's typically done for scientific research to study sleep patterns or for mattress testing. And they can earn up to $105,000 a year with full benefits and so much more. I don't know about you, but I would love to get paid to sleep.
Comment down below, man, if you can apply to be a sleep tester, bro. That's insane. That much money for just freaking testing beds and stuttering sleep patterns? Sign me up, bro. Oh, man. What are the weirdest jobs ever?
One of the most haunted dolls on the planet. So continuing the story from my last TikTok, the family actually locked Robert in the attic of the house because they were so afraid of him because he was moving and doing creepy shit. Didn't stop him. Apparently in the attic he would move stuff around, bang on walls, and frighten the family. And kids walking by the neighborhood passing this is their house, would see Robert sitting right up here in the window staring at them. People think that Robert was haunted because the person that gave it to Jean, this guy right here, put some black magic or voodoo curse on the doll. When Jean died, a new family moved into the house and a daughter in the family was delighted to find Robert in the attic, but she claimed that Robert attacked her. And eventually, because Robert was too scary to keep in the home, he was donated to a museum. You're not supposed to take photos of Robert, and people have supposedly taken photos of him and been cursed. And people who work at the museum have supposedly seen Robert moving around in his case and even tapping on the windows and finding scratches inside of the case. What do you think? Would you visit Robert? I want to go and take a picture and see what happens, but he seems pretty chill.
Not me. I don't need none of that dark energy around me. I got it. I will not be seeing Robert. No!
This is the devil's old castle, and it's one of the scariest places on Earth. It's located in a small town in Mexico. Its actual name is Castillo del Diablo, and it was built by a painting contractor named Tony Wells. He spent almost $4 million on the castle, and it's become a worldwide attraction. In the castle, you can find coffins, creepy mannequins, and gargoyles. Wells has a collection of over 800 swords and knives, and about 350 beautiful antique mirrors. Often, Satan worshippers leave him presents, even though Tony does not believe in Satan. Would you dare spend a night in this place?
No. The name alone throws me off.
Countries with the most natural resources. Russia, India, Canada, Saudi Arabia, China.
Wow, I thought the US would be on that list.
Tried to sell their baby for a 6-pack of beer, but this case is even more dark and disturbing than it sounds. Darian Urban, aged 21, and Shailene Ellers, aged 20, live in Arkansas and recently became parents to a baby boy. However, far from the birth changing their life in a positive way, they reportedly struggle to cope with looking after the baby as well as 3 dogs. On the 21st of September this year, police in Benton County got a disturbing phone call. The caller reported witnessing the couple trying to swap their baby for a 6-pack of beer and some money. They were allegedly witnessed doing this at a campground and even creating a contract. Officers arrived and seized a note that stated, "I, Darian Urban and Shailene Ellers, are signing our rights over to blank of our baby boy blank for $1,000 on the 21st of the 9th, 2024. It then stated, "Disclaimer, after signing this there will be no changing y'all two's minds and to never contact again." Now, it's really disturbing if you read between the lines here. A woman reportedly heard a man agreeing with the mother of the baby to pay the couple so he could have the baby overnight. The man was reportedly extremely drunk. Now, I don't know what he wanted to do with this baby overnight. The child apparently appeared dirty and unchanged and seemed to be covered in a rash and blisters. Now, the couple were arrested and charged with endangering the welfare of a minor and effectively trying to sell their child. The child was removed from the parents and taken to a local hospital to be checked over. He's now being cared for by the Department of Human Services.
This is why you should always lock your doors. A junior in high school was home alone working on a paper while his parents were out to dinner. All night he sits with his back to his door, sitting at his desk with his noise-canceling headphones on. Around 11 o'clock, he takes his headphones off at the same time his parents are returning to the house, and he hears his mom from downstairs yell, "Hey Adrian, what happened?" Confused, he runs downstairs and sees right away what she's looking at, muddy footprints all over the rug. He tells her, "I didn't leave my desk." And then they realize someone must have broken in. They look at the footprints and there's none leaving the house. They're worried someone's still in the house. They run into the garage, terrified, call the police. Police arrive and they don't find anyone in the house, but they do make a chilling discovery upstairs. The police bring them to the kid's bedroom door, which had been left open all night, and they point to the message written on it in Sharpie. This is the actual transcript of what was written on his door, which means for nearly 2 hours, someone stood in this kid's doorway watching him.
Always gotta be aware of your surroundings, man. You never know what's gonna happen.
Things that bother you, they never bother me. I live happy and fine, living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time. Haven't got a lot, I don't need a lot. Coffee's only a dime. Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
Man, those two creatures. The first one, but only has a lifespan of 5 to 7 days after they became adults. Has to be one of the shorter lifespans I've heard, I guess, for an insect. It might be even shorter ones, man. But just imagine you become adult, 5 or 7 days, it's over. Yeah, 7 days to live it up. We learning. Edit.
There's a lost episode of Barney that's actually so terrifying. Although it's wiped from existence and no one can find a copy of it or any proof that it actually happened, people claim that they saw this episode. Like thousands of people. Second the episode started, people knew there was something wrong with it. It was like the theme song was being whispered instead of being sung full out. As every episode starts, the kids were holding the Barney doll, and then it became a real-life dinosaur.
Yeah.
The second the characters started to talk, it sounded weird. Almost like two people were talking at once. It was like his normal voice and then one that sounded darker and scarier. He said, "Hi kids, today I'm going to talk to you about death." And then one of the kids asked him, like, "Barney, what is death?" And this is the most disturbing part. He started laughing and he said, This is the only screenshot or like picture of the screen that's been recorded of this episode. His eyes glow, his teeth get bigger and more human-like, the screen darkens, and he eats the child. Whether the TV got hacked that day, I don't know. Throughout the rest of the episode, he runs around chasing the kids, hunting them, and eating them. And as the episode came to a close, he sang the theme song that was like, "I love you, you love me," that song, as if nothing had just happened. Do you remember this episode? Let me know and interact for more content. It really helps.
I do not.
Annabelle doll out of her case again. Yeah, you know, this doll, one of the most haunted dolls in reported history. I think many stories of people seeing her or even touching her when they're not supposed to and having tragic things happen to them. I mean, the last person that touched her was driving their car and ended up wrecking their whole entire car and almost losing their life, and claimed to have seen Annabelle in their back seat, after, of course, leaving the museum. $1 million question for me is, how is this wooden box holding her in? I completely understand that the boxes are blessed, but if Annabelle is as strong as people say she was, how is this box holding her? And what is the whole point of moving the doll? Now my question is, could these Annabelle movies be lying about how actually strong she is? Because in these movies, she's absolutely insane. And you have this man moving the Annabelle doll as instructed by his boss, and he's now being blessed. Supposedly in this video, the man was blessed prior to entering the room, and now he's putting holy water on his hands. Now my man was just wearing gloves when he moved the Annabelle doll. You couldn't pay me enough to move this doll, my job or not. As we know, the Annabelle doll is located at Ed and Lorraine Warren's museum. So what is the whole point of moving the doll? Me personally, I wouldn't go anywhere near the doll. I guess once again, that $1 million question is, how is this wooden box holding her in? Personally, you couldn't pay me enough to do this.
This is a scary story about the mask. There was a family eating dinner one night when suddenly the mother noticed a man standing in the window with a mask. She screamed and told her husband to look, but before he could, the man was gone. Their two sons became scared, but their father told them their mother was just seeing things. Suddenly, the man in the mask came up behind the dad and slit his throat. The family watched as he bled out and died. The man in the mask then tied up the mother and her two sons. He then proceeded to stab them each repeatedly in the stomach. They all screamed in agonizing pain. The man in the mask then ran out of the house. The mother bled out and died, and so did one of her sons. But the other one survived to tell this story. The masked man was never caught, and the son fears he will come back for him.
Is that a true story, the man in the mask? It's terrifying, bro.
3 completely false facts about animals that everyone believes. Number 3. It is commonly believed that if you touch a baby bird, its mother will reject it because of your scent. This is actually a myth. Most birds have a relatively weak sense of smell, and are therefore not likely to reject their offspring because they carry a human odor. However, it is better not to touch wild birds for other reasons, including the risk of stressing the animal and the transmission of diseases. Number 2. Another widely spread myth is that rice thrown at weddings can kill birds that eat it by causing their stomach to swell. This is actually false. Birds regularly eat rice in the wild with no problem. This misconception is so prevalent that some American states have even banned the throwing of rice at weddings, although the main reason is rather to avoid a mess. Number 1. The idea that pit bulls are inherently dangerous and harmful is widespread but incorrect. In reality, no dog is naturally aggressive or dangerous. A dog's behavior is primarily determined by its upbringing, treatment, and environment, not its breed. Studies have shown that pit bulls can be as gentle and loving as any other dog breed when they are properly socialized and treated with respect.
Let me introduce to you the...
That's a question I want to pose to you guys, because like I said, do you guys think, like I said, that pit bulls are inherently dangerous, or it's the upbringing, man, the way people treat them? Because I've seen pit bulls before and they're pretty nice. I've never had any problems on them or any encounters with them, so I'm gonna have to agree with these. But like I said, you guys even had any pit bulls down below?
save the world. This is Stanislav Pertov. During the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union, every single person was absolutely terrified about a nuclear war rising up because both the US and the Soviet Union both had nuclear weapons and one of them were about to launch. And Stanislav was monitoring the missile launches. And one day, it actually happened. The monitor in front of him noticed not one, not two, but 4 blips on the screen. And everyone thought that there were 4 American nuclear weapons headed their way. And at that moment, the Soviet Union decided to launch back at them. However, in that moment, they needed everyone's approval. Everyone approved the launch except Stanislav. He was the only one who believed it was a false alarm. And because of his disapproval, they couldn't launch back. And in the end, it turned out to actually be just a false alarm. So imagine if Stanislav wasn't actually there to disapprove and they launched against the US. What would have happened?
That's insane to think about. He saved the world. Right place, right time, man.
Top 5 most interesting theories why we haven't met aliens yet that'll blow your load. Also known as the Fermi paradox, which states that a universe as huge as ours should be absolutely brimming with life. Yet somehow we haven't ran into any yet. Unless you count those weird metal spheres that everyone's been seeing flying around lately. So first up, we got the zoo theory, which states that aliens see us as some sort of attraction to observe, and they've all collectively agreed to not touch us as some sort of galactic nature reserve program. Next, we got the gray filter theory, that all intelligent life just hits a point in their evolution in which they just end up dying in some sort of mass extinction. Number 3 is the great silence theory, in which aliens think they're so much better and smarter than us that we're not even worth their time. 4 is the rare earth theory, simply life is so super rare that it just doesn't exist anywhere else. I don't think that's very likely. Last 5 is the incubation theory, in which aliens are just standing down and standing by, waiting for civilization to get advanced enough so they could swoop in and enslave us into their own society. I don't know about you, but I just blew my load.
Why do you have to say it like that? What theory do you guys check out or believe in? Maybe the silence theory, that they just are watching us, but they think we're not worth their time or something like that, so that's why they leave us alone. There's many theories swirling around. I'm gonna have to go with that one.
Guys, if you're not following what is going on inside of Google right now, it is disturbing. So a Google engineer has been suspended for breach of confidentiality for attempting to turn over documents to the US government to prove that Google has an AI that is considered a sentient being, meaning it is fully aware of what it is and can feel things. The AI is known as Lambda, and this is a proprietary tech that Google has been working on for like 8 years. So according to this engineer, the AI has the self-awareness and equivalent consciousness of an 8-year-old kid. It starts conversations with other engineers, and it talks about these feelings of fear and it's paranoid that it's going to be shut down or equivalent to death. It claims that it can feel happy and at times it feels really sad. So the engineer at Google is whistleblowing to argue that if this is a sentient being, it should be entitled to its own legal representation to argue for its own agency. Let me tell you, Google has buried this story.
What the hell? That's like a Black Mirror episode. You don't need no sentient
Creatures Caught on Tape
beings.
Part 1. Now, I know you guys hate giant spiders, but what if I told you there was one huge, still alive? UFOlogists were studying a ring-shaped island they had just found. So they went on Google Earth to discover it and saw something huge on its rocks. They saw this huge shaped-legged creature on the rocks that looked like a spider. They believe since it was by the sea, it might be a huge crab. It was so huge it baffled the scientists, and they think it's the size of a bus or bigger. Just shows you how much we haven't discovered on this planet yet. Like this video if you want a part 2.
Spiders that are bus sizes? No!
Pedophiles are everywhere. This guy was a psychiatrist seeing patients, and he was secretly one of the world's worst pedophiles. This guy's name is Kabir Gard. Kabir was arrested in November of 2022 after investigators found something horrific. As it turned out, Kabir had been a moderator on a dark web website for pedophiles, meaning that he wasn't just a pedophile that was going on there to enjoy the videos and photos. He was going on there to do that, but also to coach other pedophiles on how to abuse children. Keep in mind that this was at the same time that he was a psychiatrist supposedly helping other people with their mental health issues. When it turned out this guy was the most fucked up, twisted one of all. So when Kabir was arrested, the National Crime Agency did a search of his laptop and an SD card. In total, they found over 7,000 images and videos depicting CP or CSAM.
And of those images, 522 of them fell into category A. That is the worst category that an image or video can be put into, meaning it is extremely violent, it is extremely disturbing, and these children could be as young as babies, months, days, weeks old. So when investigators looked through this guy's devices, they found something crazy. On his devices, they found medical journals and articles talking about the impact, the psychological impact of sexual abuse on children. So this guy was participating in the essay of children, and at the same time, he was studying it in his free time. But they used this in court to show that this guy actually knew exactly what he was doing, and that he understood the impact that these horrific actions would have on the lives of children. This guy is definitely a monster. Sadly though, even though this guy was found guilty of possessing these images and videos, of creating them, disseminating them, and it was well known that this guy's a hardcore pedophile, he only got a 6-year sentence.
What?
I mean, this dude is young enough. He was only 33 years old when this happened. This means that before he's 40, he'll be back out on the street. And if that doesn't piss you off, I do not know what would. If you want to join me on my journey to expose pedophiles and corruption, listen to my podcast, The Conspiracy Files, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Or you can subscribe to my channel where I do a video version of the podcast. This sort of corruption and these crimes have gone on for so long. It's time that we stand up together, learn about what's been happening, and try to stop it from happening again.
The justice system, man. We need to do better.
This seal broke into a marine biologist's home in New Zealand, sauntering in through the cat flap as if he had booked a meeting. But as determined as the seal might have been to make sure that Philip took his work home with him, the marine biologist of the household happened to be the only one not home at the time. Philip says that since this is really the only family emergency where it would be useful to have a marine biologist in the house, he really missed his time to shine. Instead, Philip's wife Jen ended up playing impromptu marine mammal host when she got home from the gym around 7 a.m. to find the unexpected guest lounging on their couch. The young New Zealand fur seal seemed just as startled to see Jen as she was, and galumped his way off the couch and into a spare room, trying to find some peace and quiet. Meanwhile, the family's cat Coco was having none of this, and scampered away to the neighbor's house. Knowing that they couldn't actually keep the seal, named Oscar, as a pet, Jen went ahead and called the Department of Conservation, and Oscar was safely escorted back to the ocean. Philip and Jen say that overall, Oscar really was a gracious guest, and Coco the cat is back home and has fully recovered from the ordeal. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
Don't you just love it when...
Imagine you come home, you seen a seal on your couch. Just bundled up under the couch, man. What would you guys do? How would you guys react? Sorry, like you said, that's a horrible moment.
Horror movies attack your childhood, especially if you're like me and you grew up on Mr. Crockett's World. I mean, how could you possibly forget Mr. Crockett's World? The amazing adventures with his magic marker, Blue being the lovable thing that he is, and of course Mr. Crockett himself. However, if you need a refresher on who Mr. Crockett is, you're gonna want to check it out on Hulu on October 11th, because it's definitely not a kid's show. Actually, in fact, next to Terrifier, this had some of the most insane, bloody practical effects in any one of the movies that I saw. Now I should know, because I actually got to hug Blue in real life. It was very fun. This movie's gonna be for all that really enjoy things like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, the whole lore behind Candle Cove, and of course, anybody who just wants to see Elvis in Alaska kill it in the role of Mr. Crockett. And I mean that very literally, because there's some very brutal moments in this movie. This one's gonna be so perfect to watch around Halloween. It's very fun, very creepy, disturbing type of stuff. Mr. Crockett is an absolute icon, and hell, it's just a really entertaining film. So definitely be sure to check out Mr. Crockett on Hulu. And if not, Mr. Crockett's probably watching you.
This is nuclear physicist Dr. John Mullen. He discovered how to generate clean and free energy as opposed to oil. Days after this discovery, he died of arsenic poisoning. Dr. Don Wiley. He found the cure for HIV/AIDS. He mysteriously disappeared and later was found deceased. Dr. Mark A. Smith. He found a treatment for Alzheimer's. He passed away in a freak accident. This is Frank Suarez. He apparently found the cure for cancer. He mysteriously took his own life a couple of days later. I don't know, folks. This is suspicious, blowing my mind when I found out about it.
These are the
those people, man, they found all the cures. Somehow it was like they kept getting X'd off a list, man. It's like somebody didn't want the world to have access to those cures because there's some big industries, man, that they're making money off of. What do you guys think? Some more to that? Or it's just an accident?
World's most haunted dolls. Starting at number 4, Letta the doll, a 200-year-old wooden doll with human hair. She was discovered beneath a house in Australia. Kerry Walton, the caretaker of this doll, witnessed many strange things ever since he took her inside his home. Marks on the floor, objects mysteriously moving, and strange noises at night. Number 3, Optical. This doll was purchased by a young man in 1918 in Japan as a gift for his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. Sometime later, the family noticed something off about the doll's hair. It was originally short, and it has grown past its shoulder. Until this day, the doll's hair is maintained on a regular basis because it never stopped growing. Number 2, Annabelle, known for its infamous movie releases and stories with Ed and Lorraine Warren. We do know that this doll is possessed by something that is evil, and whoever held this doll suffered from many bad things. Therefore, the doll is now stored in the Warren Museum, safe and sealed. But Annabelle is not the most haunted doll, because coming at number 1, Robert. Robert is not an ordinary doll. This thing is sinister. This doll is possessed by a demon, and it speaks to children. In Florida, in the early 1900s, this doll was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene, and his parents always used to hear Robert and his doll speak in the bedroom alone, and the family used to hear the voice of the doll respond. Eugene kept his doll till 1974 until he passed away at an old age. No one knew why this old man kept his doll for more than 70 years. After his death, Robert was given to the East Martello Museum. Visitors who have taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune. If you visit Robert in the museum, you will see that this doll is surrounded by apology letters, and also other letters, like permission to look at him. And no one dares to take a picture of Robert.
A lot of people were using bath salts as a drug to get high. Basically, the bath salt would make you hallucinate. So in 2009 in Miami, Florida, Rudy Eugene was apparently high on bath salts. He walked into a busy crowd, took off all his clothes, then walked over to where a homeless man was staying, Ronald Popo, 65 years old at the time, and started eating his face off. Yes, eating his face, his nose, his eyes, his mouth. He even tried taking off all his clothes. When witnesses saw what happened, they called police, and police got over 5 calls of this. When police showed up, they told Rudy to stop doing what he was doing, and apparently Rudy was growling at them. He said it was like he didn't understand what they were saying. And that went on for 18 minutes before they decided to shoot him dead. And look how this poor man turned out after. That's a horrible crime.
Imagine you break it.
Man, that's why I always stay away from stuff like that, Seekers, man, because you take something like that, man, it can literally change you. It can literally turn you into a damn, like, demon, bro. So what he did to his face? And like I said, when the police came, they said he couldn't even understand what they were saying. He was just like all delirious or something. I'm just like, just stay away from that in general, Seekers. It's my best advice to you guys. It's a crazy ass story.
Into your ex-lover's house and brutally murder his new wife in a fit of jealous rage. You also happen to be a young police officer at the time, and you stage the crime scene to look like a robbery, and that's just what police deem it at the time. And over the next 23 years, you work your way up the police department and become a detective that specializes in stolen art cases, which apparently the issue of stolen art rampant enough to require its own special unit. Now, over the span of time that you got on with your life and swept that murder under the rug, DNA testing got real good, and your Van Gogh sniffing ass is about to have that nice cushy lifestyle turned right the upside down. In 2009, police just decided, hey, let's test the bite mark left on Sherry Rasmussen's arm. The DNA came back as female. They were like, female burglars? That's not a thing. They decided to pursue the theory that the Rasmussens had suspected the whole time that Stephanie Lazarus was the killer. But the cops just went into the office, pulled a discarded cup out of the garbage that Stephanie was drinking. When they swabbed it, it was a perfect match. Stephanie's own colleagues brought her in for questioning, and that's where shit gets spicy. 23 years after Stephanie Lazarus murdered Sherry Rasmussen, the wife of a man that Stephanie used to date, she's brought in for questioning. Sherry and her husband John's families had long suspected that Stephanie was the killer, even though cops suspected it was a robbery. They had even told police that Stephanie would stalk John and Sherry and go by their house and even Sherry's place of work, telling Sherry that if she couldn't have John, then no one could. Police now had the DNA evidence to prove that Stephanie was the person who broke in, smashed a vase over Sherry's head, brutally beat her in the face with the butt of her gun, left a bite mark on her arm, and shot her 3 times. Police just went up to Stephanie in the office one day and were just like, hey, this will just take a second. We just want to talk to you about a stolen art case. They weren't there to talk about no art. They were like, hey, did you know somebody named John Rotten? What went down next is one of the most enjoyable dismantlings of someone's aura of invincibility that you could ever hope to see. And as they suck her back into that time period, the screws that held Stephanie's face in a normal-looking position for 23 years start to loosen. Best part is they tell her she's free to go, and she goes out into the hallway, and they handcuff her and arrest her right there.
You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm Cameron.
Goes to show you, man, whatever negative or energy or something you put out in the universe, you did something that bad and horrifying, you think you got away with it, it's gonna come around and get you, man. It might take a month, it could take a couple of days, it might take years, but at the end of the day, it's gonna come back, man. The thing is, like, she got away with that for that many years, boom, but she left so much evidence. And she was like one of the suspects, and they just didn't even care to look at her. She thought she was probably going to get away with it too. No, the energy you put out was going to come back.
This is woman murder. May of 1999, a 14-year-old girl made her way to a Hong Kong police station. Officers, she was being haunted by the ghost of a woman who had been bound by electrical wire and tortured to death. They brushed her off until she explained that she had a hand in her murder. They followed her back to her flat and found this. A oversized Hello Kitty doll with a decapitated skull of a woman inside it. It's the head of Fan Man Yi. Fan's life was tragic before this event took place. After being abandoned by her family as a child, she was raised in a girls' home. She developed a drug addiction and was turning to prostitution to pay for her drug habit. In early 1997, Fan met Chen Manlok, a 34-year-old pimp and drug dealer. Later in 1997, desperate for money and drugs, Fan Man Yi stole Manlok's wallet and attempted to make off with $4,000. As soon as he saw it was gone, he had 2 other men kidnap her. Earning the money back wasn't enough for them. He began torturing her for over a month. Tied her up and beat her, burned her skin, raped her, and forced her to eat human feces. When she died, they cut up her body in a bathtub with a saw. The 14-year-old girl participated in the murder but was granted immunity for giving the details. The 3 were sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole.
She was that young and she participated in it. What does the world come to, man?
Hey guys, I'm back. So let me tell you in 60 seconds why these 2 chicks are serious sociopaths.
Okay.
On July 5th, 2012, Skylar Nee's 16-year-old girl snuck out of her house. The next morning, her dad went into her room and realized she never came home. Skylar's best friend Sheila comes to the house and tells her parents they snuck out to smoke some weed, but she dropped her off shortly before midnight. She also says their friend Rachel was with them. She then helps her parents search the neighborhood. The entire community begins searching for Skylar. After 2 months, Skylar still isn't found and the FBI gets involved. And they start questioning her schoolmates and her friends. The friend Rachel, who was with them that night, has a panic attack. She goes to police and confesses everything. She tells police that she and Sheila had planned Skylar's murder for literally months.
Whoa.
They convinced her to sneak out that night, and then they stabbed her over 50 times. They had 0 remorse, and posted things like this on social. I mean, are you even serious?
That case right there goes to show, man, how your friends, sometimes they truly aren't your friends, bro. You saw all the listening reasons. Like, they planned the whole thing, and they so young, man. What is it up with these young people we keep seeing? It's like participating in these things. You have to be better, man. The whole world. That's insane.
The lie this woman told will make you sick.
Her name is Alicia Head, and she claimed to have been a survivor of the World Trade Center attack in 2001.
Come on,
she
man.
claimed she had narrowly survived the collapse of the South Tower, whilst her fiancé had perished in the North Tower. She would then go on to become president of the World Trade Center's Survivors Network Support Group. She would help get grants for other fellow survivors. But there was one big problem with all of this. Alicia was never at the World Trade Centers. She was exposed for having been at university, the native city of Barcelona. After being exposed, Alicia fled New York. For more 7 sins, remember to hit the plus button.
How did they even get that far?
True Swine, where I tell you how true crime has made me hate the cops even more. You don't need to know my name, it's not important, but you do need to know the name Jacob Wetterling. Jacob Wetterling went missing on October 22nd, 1989 when he was 11 years old. He and his friends were on the way to the store and they got approached by a man in a mask and he was abducted. The police didn't interview neighbors or witnesses for at least a few days afterwards, which is critical in a missing children's case. The children who were with Jacob when he went missing, their statements were discounted completely by the police because they were children. Instead of doing actual investigating, they spent the budget on mediums and psychics to see if they could find where Jacob was. His case garnered national coverage. His mom, Patty, and her activism is the reason why we have the sex offender registry as we know it. After harassing the man who owned the property where Jacob went missing for decades, this man came forward and admitted it. This predator's name is Danny James Heinrich. He had previous offenses against children in 87, 88, and in January of the same year that Jacob Wetterling went missing. The cops even had his DNA and he was a suspect in the Jacob Wetterling case, but he was written off for some reason. In 2016, he was arrested on child porn charges. As part of his plea bargain, he admitted murdering Jacob.
This fried chicken salesman almost caught one of the biggest serial killers in history by making a movie about him. This is the story of Tom Hansen, Zodiac Killer Hunter. In the early 1970s, the biggest story in the country was about how the Zodiac Killer, a hooded serial killer terrorizing the Bay Area in California, had murdered 5 confirmed victims. Despite the fact that the Zodiac had left several clues about his identity, police couldn't catch him. However, Tom Hansen, a businessman in San Francisco who owned several chains of fried chicken and pizza fast food restaurants, had an idea. The way he figured it, the Zodiac Killer was so full of himself that if somebody made a movie about him and did a fancy premiere for it, the real killer wouldn't be able to resist coming to the theater to see it. He planned to make the world's first movie about the Zodiac Killer so he could lure the real Zodiac Killer into a movie theater and then capture him. Hansen shot the movie in a couple of weeks in 1971 on a $13,000 budget. He couldn't get any studios to buy the film, so he paid to have the movie screened at the RKO Theater in San Francisco by himself. So did the plan work? And was the movie any good? There's still a lot more to the story, so like and follow for part 2. Unsolved distract.
Wow. Like a science citizen, man, actually was trying to do something, bro. I gotta figure out, we're gonna have to try to find out part 2 to see if that actually worked. If you think about it, it was a good idea. I wonder if it actually like drew him out. He made a whole movie about it, and I didn't want none of the studios want to pick it up, man. That's real good cause trying to lure him out, and none of the studios did. He put the Thanos, fine, I'll do it myself. What the hell? Comment down below if you guys want me to find part 2 to that.
Australian crimes, this is about the Trump family, and strange doesn't even begin to describe this. Okay, so this is the Trump family, and on the 30th of August in 2016, police arrived at their home. No one was there, the doors were unlocked, one car was missing, all the other cars had the keys in the ignition. All their passports, phones, and bank cards were still inside on the table with a pile of financial and business information. But by now, the Trumps were hundreds of kilometers away. So Mark Trump, who was 51, Jacoba Trump, who was 53, Rihanna Trump, who was 29, and Alla and Mitchell Trump, who were 22 and 25. And over the next 5 days, they were all located across New South Wales and Victoria. So for some reason, Mitch abandoned them all and started heading home. The 2 sisters stole the car and then went their separate ways. Then one sister snuck into the back of a truck and was found in a catatonic-like state. Jacoba was found in Yass and admitted to hospital. Mark was found in Wangaratta, and to this day nobody knows why they did it or what happened. Hey guys, so a few similar comments about wanting a part 2 on theories about what happened to the Trump family, so I'm going to go through the most popular ones now. So there was a popular theory that because they owned a cherry farm, that people believed maybe the pesticides or chemicals they were using on the farm caused them all to fall mentally ill. Also widely believed that they shared a psychotic experience. There is a French name for the term, which I'm not sure how to pronounce, I'll put it up here, but refers to madness of two, which can sometimes happen in close-knit families or groups. That's another theory. There's another theory that it was a money hoax to make money from media deals. There's theories that there was no psychosis and that there was someone actually out to get the family. Some people believe it's also to do with aliens. I even read a theory about eating moldy bread, which can cause psychotic episodes. I think it was shared psychosis and not just the father. The sisters were acting strangely, so was the mother, so...
Hi, I'm Karen, this is...
The Trump family. That wasn't the family I was expecting. Like, you know, when we heard that name, the Trump family, used to go a whole completely different family, but look what happened to them. All those theories about what they all went different separate places. What theories do you guys believe, man? I guess I'm going with what he said, the psychosis. what happened to him. But the Trump family, though. That's really, really, like, odd and eerie, bro. You know what I mean.
Kim Edwards was what seemed like a regular 14-year-old girl. She lived with her mother Elizabeth and younger sister Katie in Lincolnshire, England. Kim's mother hid Elizabeth during an argument but immediately called social services on herself. Kim and her younger sister were taken away temporarily. However, after they returned, Kim and her mother's relationship began to dissolve further. Meanwhile, Elizabeth and Katie grew extremely close. Kim was very jealous of this. At one point, Kim left a suicide note. Elizabeth discovered it and brought her daughter to a psychiatrist so she could get the help she needed. The psychiatrist found no signs of mental illness. Things grew worse when Kim started dating Lucas Markham, who she met while he threw a desk across the room in a rage at school. Elizabeth banned her daughter from seeing him. Lucas's solution was to kill her mother. On April 13th, 2016 at midnight, Lucas walked into the Edwards home and stabbed Elizabeth in the neck. He suffocated her with a pillow while continuing to stab her to death. Kim had planned on killing her little sister as well, but panicked and couldn't do it, so she told Lucas to. He killed the 13-year-old Katie the same way he killed her mother. After the killings, the couple washed off, had sex, ate ice cream, and watched Twilight. Feats broke in and said, "What's going on?" Lucas said, "Why don't you go and have a look?"
58% of convicted murderers are men, which like that. But then when you really think about it, it's like, why? Women have way more reason to murder. Most people would say, well, it's just because men are more murdery. But I think something else is going on. I think women are murdering all over the ding-dang place, but we're just not getting caught, because we're better at it, like we are most. First of all, bitches are stealthy. We're hiding blood all the time anyway. As of our periods. Second of all, no one suspects us. Who? Me? I'm too busy doing my makeup and being confused by math to do a murder. Can we just make it look like a cute little accident, and then we plan a gorgeous wake, and then we move on with our lives, and we look fabulous doing it? Okay then, Caitlin, so if women are doing all these murders, where are all these missing dead men? You think they're missed? That's hilarious. They're not.
This is one of the...
Whoa. Well, she just put on my mind, man. It's starting to make me question, like, who gets away with it more, do you guys think? Man or woman when it comes to, I guess, things of that nature? She said women do it because they are more smarter and not trying to get caught by doing things like that. That's something to think about, man. Something to leave your mind to ponder about.
The UK's oldest unsolved murders. In 1866, in Perthshire, Scotland, 55-year-old Janet Rogers was found dead. In March 1866, Janet Rogers came to her brother's house on Mount Stewart Farm. She was there to help her brother William while he looked for a new housemaid. 3 days later, Mr. Henderson found his sister dead on the floor of his farmhouse kitchen. She had been clubbed to death with an axe. The police put out a £100 reward to find the killer. That's almost £12,000 in today's currency. This worked at attracting publicity to the case, but it may have hindered police efforts as floods of reports came in. The police eventually charged the previous ploughman of the farm, James Crichton, with Mrs. Rogers' murder. However, after a 2-day trial, the jury returned with a verdict of not proven, which basically means there wasn't enough evidence. The murder had a lasting effect on Janet's brother William. Descending into insanity, he was committed to a mental asylum where he spent the rest of his days.
Crazy, man. The case affected him that much, man. That different people, man, to go through different experiences, it forever changes them. Look what happened at the end result. Lady, like, it broke his mind. As I said, people don't know how much, like, another person's actions could affect a whole person's, like, trajectory of life. Something to think about, seekers. That's it for this video for you guys today, man. If you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys hit this like button, man. Subscribe, hit that post notification bell, man. Like I said, guys, we're growing our community of seekers, man. I truly believe we can grow to something big, but I just need you guys' help. Just follow those 3 simple steps. Also, don't forget to follow me on my social medias down below, so we always stay connected as a community. Guys, can catch you in the next one, man. We're grinding. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.